Welcome into NFL Daily. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we've got the latest NFL quarterback rumors. It's been a while since I've talked to you guys about the quarterback market here on the show, but a couple things have happened. We've finished up the regular season. We've had wild card weekend. So what's the latest surrounding the quarterback market? Today I've got the answers for you guys. We're going to be talking about a lot of the top names on the quarterback market today. We're going to be talking about Sam Darnold at the top of the show, what his future lies here in the National Football League after a two-game collapse with the Minnesota Vikings. Then we'll go to Pittsburgh to talk a little bit about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, whether one of those two guys will be back in the Steel City as that team's QB1 in 2025. Then we'll go to New Orleans and Seattle and talk about their quarterback situations and whether they're going to cut or whether they are going to keep Derek Carr and Geno Smith for next season. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button, not only to this channel, the main Chat Sports channel, but we're also booting up our NFL Draft channel once again here at Chat Sports. And I'm going to be helming up our coverage here throughout the draft process, throughout the draft season. We're going to be having weekly mock drafts on there. We're going to be at positional rankings. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff on that channel this year. So make sure you guys go click that subscribe button to that channel as well for extensive NFL draft content from us here at Chat Sports. And if you want to give me a follow on X, I'm at Jack_Sperry. Going to be putting up a bunch of draft content on my social media as well throughout the draft season. So if you want to come on here and talk some draft with us here at Chat Sports, go ahead, give us a follow at Jack_Sperry on X, and make sure you give us a subscribe to the new NFL Draft channel. So first up here, let's talk about Sam Darnold and what lies in his future in the National Football League, because it's probably not going to be with the Minnesota Vikings. A really rough end to his Vikings tenure, at least for 2024 here. And I think that with the two games that he has had over the last 2 weeks, I think he's likely done in Minnesota. I think the Vikings are going to go with J.J. McCarthy, who they drafted in the top 10 of last year's NFL draft. He's the guy that was always supposed to be the plan for the future. And, if Sam would have, finished the season strong, and if he would have won a playoff game, and maybe if he would have, gotten them to an NFC Championship game, maybe the Vikings do bring him back. Maybe they franchise tag him and make him the starter for 2025. But after these last two performances, man, the Vikings offense under Darnold failed to get to 10 points against both the Lions in the season finale and the Rams in the wild card round. Darnold really looked flustered on the big stage, and, I think that because of that, the Vikings will likely part ways with this year's QB1 to pave the way for the future. You take a look at Darnold's numbers the last two games in these two matchups, and it just wasn't very good, man. 53.1% completion percentage, just about 200 yards passing per game, and for as much as they were throwing the ball in these two games, 200 yards is not a good accomplishment, guys. And you just had one touchdown and one interception over the course of these two games, so not very good for Mr. Sam Darnold over the last two. And, it really is unfortunate because he was having such a great season. Even some people are putting him in MVP discussions. But now the question is not whether or not, in my opinion, is he going to come back to Minnesota or not? I think the question is, can Minnesota still be able to tag him with the franchise tag and then trade him for a decent draft pick in exchange for his services as they look towards J.J. McCarthy era there in Minnesota? You take a look at Sam's numbers here, and I do think during the season, obviously, he put up some really good numbers, man. 35 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, over 66% completion percentage, and he was really doing a good job pushing the ball down the field consistently. You guys can take a look here at the notable 2024 stats and advanced analytics for Sam Darnold. He's 15th in EPA per play, which might be a little bit lower given some of his other statistics like yards and all these different things, touchdown passes. But the accuracy metrics here, he was 11th in catchable ball percentage and 14th in adjusted completion percentage. But that's okay because he was pushing the ball down the field. He's one of the most accurate downfield passers in all of football. He was 5th in average depth of target, 4th in yards per attempt, so very efficient throwing the ball down the field as well. The big time throw percentage, fitting those really, really tight window throws in. He was 7th in that category, but the two things that he struggles in is that he has too many turnovers and puts the ball in harm's way too often. That's always been a thing of his in the National Football League, ranked 31st in turnover-worthy play percentage. And then he also holds the ball for too long. Out of 42 eligible quarterbacks, he ranked 41st and average time to throw. And my scouting report on him here, man, I think that he's got great arm talent, and he's got great size, and he's got all the things that the Shanahan and McVay guys really like in terms of, the play action stuff from under center. He rips the ball over the middle of the field, so anybody that runs a Shanahan or McVay style offense, and there's a lot of them in the National Football League, Sam Darnold fits their kind of offensive structure. But the cons, the decision making is always going to be a bit shaky. He is going to throw the ball in the tight windows. He is going to take risks down the field, and you're just going to have to deal with some turnovers when you have Sam Darnold as your quarterback. And he does hold on to the ball for too long, and he does take too many sacks. So you really do need to have solid pass protection in front of him if you want Sam Darnold to be a legitimate starting quarterback in the National Football League. And, the question of, is there a market for Sam Darnold here, guys? Like, you have to ask yourself, are there teams out there that are not only willing to send a high draft pick to Minnesota to acquire Darnold, but also pay him at the $41.3 million franchise tag number? That is what is most likely going to be and what it's projected to be for the 2025 NFL season. And honestly, guys, I still do think that there is a market for Sam Darnold. Now, I do think what likely needs to happen, and what I could certainly see happening, is a team trades for Darnold, and say they give up like a third or maybe a fourth-round pick, depending on the market for Darnold out there, and then you restructure his contract so that you're not having to pay him $41.3 million against your cap next year for somebody that might not exactly deserve to take up that large of a cap hit for an NFL team heading into next year. For me, my projected contract for Sam Darnold would look something like this: a 2-year, $55 million contract. So you can trade for Sam Darnold on the franchise tag, but then you can restructure the contract so it fits more along the template of what I'm doing right here. I'd probably give Darnold maybe around $30 million guaranteed, something around that range, and I think that's probably a fair offer for a guy like Sam Darnold at this point. In terms of teams that he could land on, I could see him on any one of these 8 teams in the National Football League here. And, I think that the teams on the left side may be a little bit more likely than the right side. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers with Arthur Smith, they like to do a lot of under center play action stuff. Could certainly see that. Cleveland does a lot of under center West Coast type concepts. I could see him being a fit there as well. But all 8 of these teams could potentially be looking for a guy like Sam Darnold to be their next franchise quarterback. And because I think that the market's big enough for Darnold out there, and there's enough teams looking for starting quality quarterback help, I do think that the Vikings will be able to eventually trade Darnold this offseason and get something back for him. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Where will Sam Darnold be playing football next season? Do you think he's going to be in Pittsburgh? Do you think he could be in Cleveland, New York, somewhere else? Let me know down there in the comment section what you guys are thinking. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Game Time. And while I'm talking about Game Time, do me a favor, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section and answer today's pinned question. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time. And Game Time is the best place for you to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All you guys got to do is select the Game Time Picks button at the top of the screen when you go into an event you want to go see, and Game Time automatically filters through their entire database of tickets to find you the best seats with the best prices so you and your family can get the best deals on any ticket you get to any live event. What I love about using the Game Time app is you get the lowest price guarantee on any ticket to any event. All-in pricing so you don't get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout, and flash deals so you can get even cheaper tickets the closer you wait to game time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. It's one word, all caps, CHATSPORTS. It's right down there in the bottom of your screen right now for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, guys. It's just for that first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Now we take you to the city of Pittsburgh, where Mike Tomlin and GM Omar Khan are going to have a very interesting decision at the quarterback position this offseason, because both of their quarterbacks in 2024, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, were on one-year deals and are free agents this year. So do the Pittsburgh Steelers bring in somebody new, or do they go back to Russell Wilson or Justin Fields to be their QB1 next season? Well, let's start with Russell Wilson here and what he did here in Pittsburgh. And the first 6 games were great. A 5-1 record to start his career in the black and gold. He had a top 5 scoring offense that he was leading, almost 300 yards passing per game. He was the most efficient downfield thrower in football, and he had the highest yards per attempt of his entire career, had a top 10 EPA, all that great stuff. Then George Pickens gets hurt in time for that Week 14 matchup, and things just go and they hit the skids. All right, 1-5 record to finish, 5 straight losses. They didn't score more than 17 points in the final 5 games of the year. They averaged 16.3 points per game, a huge drop off from that 29 points per game number earlier in the year, almost 100 passing yards less per game down that final stretch, and then almost a 50-point drop in EPA to finish out the season. So needless to say, he's kind of getting run out of town by Steelers fans there in the Steel City. But to be fair to Russ, it wasn't really his fault, all right? It wasn't really all his fault either, okay? Like there's a lot of issues with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense this year, and honestly, Russ made up for a lot of the issues and kind of elevated the offense even when that's not really what he was brought in to do. The offensive line, in my opinion, was not very good for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. They couldn't run block and they couldn't protect him either, and then that really led to a terrible run game. And you got to remember, Russ wasn't brought in to be like the savior of the offense. This was supposed to be a really good running team this year with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. They had a bottom 5 run game according to success rate this year. Then he had lackluster weapons on the outside. George Pickens was really the only true dynamic threat that he had, and when he got injured, things really hit the skids. And then the offensive play calling from Arthur Smith, I think, was mediocre at best, and he didn't use his personnel in the right ways many times in those football games. So listen, man, I still think Russ is a top 32 NFL quarterback. I still think he is a starter in this league, and he's very good throwing the ball down the field on his first read, and in certain situations, it's kind of like a supplementary type piece. I think he can still be a winning quarterback in the National Football League with the right situation, but he is limited in, I think, 2 really specific ways. Number one, he's no longer the magician out of structure that he used to be, man. He used to be arguably the best out of structure playmaker in all of football. Now that element of his game is all but gone because he's just not the same athlete. He's not as quick. He can't move around the same way, and he's really being forced to be a true pocket passer. But the problem with that is that he's so short that if he doesn't get to a read over the middle of the field on his primary read, offensive linemen get in his face and he can't see over the middle of the field, which affects his mental processing. So he's become kind of a one-read type of quarterback where he needs to get the ball out on his first read or he is in trouble. And the reality is that's not the type of quarterback that Arthur Smith, the Steelers offensive coordinator, likes. He likes these bigger type of quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill, for example, the guy he had in Tennessee that can rip those intermediate digs, that can see those developing routes over the middle of the field on their third or fourth progression read. And that's just not what Russell Wilson does at this point. So I think the Steelers most likely are going to turn to Justin Fields, who is a bigger body, who has more potential to play in an Arthur Smith style of offense and thrive compared to Russell Wilson, who needs to run kind of his style of offense in order to have success. And I think Arthur Smith wants to make a transition to the stuff he likes versus having to call the stuff that Russ has to play. And I do think going with Fields is going to be risky for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like if they go with Fields, like there are big risks involved with that because I think Fields has significant progress to make as an in-structure playmaker. You guys can see my scouting report on Fields. He's got great size. He's a dynamic rusher, arguably the best rushing quarterback in the National Football League when he's going right. The arm talent is insane, can throw from any angle and any platform, and the playmaking instincts are really, really good. But the nuances of the position, the little details that the best quarterbacks in the world get right that Fields just doesn't on a consistent basis. Mental processing, vision down the field, decision-making, and then accuracy are things that are really, really troublesome with Fields. His timing and all these different things when playing within structure is just not to the level of a starting NFL quarterback. And because of that, I think he's a high-end backup quarterback at this point in his career, but he's got some high upside, which is what I think the Steelers are banking on. You guys can see the notable stats from Fields this year. And, this doesn't look like an NFL starting quarterback, does it? He's ranking in the mid to high 20s in most of these major stat categories. That's not where you want to live. And then the average time to throw, I mean, we've known for a long time now that Fields is one of the slowest mental processors in the league. He was 40th in the league this year in average time to throw, even though his average depth of target was only 24th. So he wasn't really throwing the ball down the field, yet it was still taking him forever to get rid of the football. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Who will be the Steelers' starting quarterback next year? Do they bring back Russ? Do they bring back Fields? Do they bring in somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. For me personally, I think they're going to roll the dice with Justin Fields. Make sure you guys like the video if you haven't already for more QB rumors just like the one that we're doing today. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that comes out just in time for NFL free agency where all these quarterbacks find their homes. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you want more content like this one. So now let's talk about the Saints here and what they're going to do with their current quarterback, Derek Carr. Now, if you ask any Saints fan, most of them are going to tell you that they're done with the Carr era. They want to move on. They want to get younger. And, I can certainly see why they say that. Right now, the Saints are currently in cap hell. They've been there for a very long time at this point. And right now, they have to clear at least $52.3 million in cap to get under the 2025 salary cap number. Now, the cap number is going to shift. It's going to adjust. So maybe it's not exactly 52. It's probably more along the lines of like 35 or 40, somewhere around that range. But the Saints can save $30 million for next year if they cut Carr post June 1st, all right? So I think that is something that I think a lot of Saints fans would like to do. But the question becomes, if you let Carr go, then what quarterback do you bring in? Well, it has to be somebody affordable, right? Because if you're going to be getting rid of Carr to save the extra cap money, you don't want to sign another expensive option. So what about somebody that, is in the division and could certainly want to play his former team twice next year? How about Kirk Cousins? I think this is something that makes a little bit of sense. I think he's going to get cut by the Atlanta Falcons. It certainly seems like that train is heading towards Michael Penix Jr. getting his shot to be the full-time starter in 2025. And I think Cousins, a team in Atlanta there that kind of, you might feel like jibbed him a little bit out of a starting job. Maybe he wants to play that team twice and prove to them that he was the right option for that franchise and not Michael Penix Jr. Plus, I think the Saints can sign him for the vet minimum, so he's extremely, extremely affordable. Another option that could be at the Saints' disposal here is Jameis Winston. I mean, it would be entertaining, right? Like, if they're going to embrace the tank and they're going to try to maybe put themselves in position for Arch Manning or whoever's going to be the number one quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft class, they could go with Jameis Winston, who is a fan favorite. He would put butts in seats, and he is entertaining to watch. He bombs the ball down the field. I don't think he'd be super effective or, get them to the playoffs or anything, but it'd sure be fun to see Jameis back in the Big Easy. Then we shift over to the Seattle Seahawks here, and what about the Seattle Seahawks? Are they going to make a move to let go of Geno Smith? Because I think that you can really make an argument that is the right path for the Seattle Seahawks next offseason. Right now, they are currently $27 million and over $400,000 over the cap, and letting go of Geno Smith would make up for that. I mean, you would save $31 million in cap if you cut Geno Smith this offseason, and you could move on to a younger option. And it seems like Mike McDonald's trying to bring in kind of a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan style West Coast offense there in Seattle. And, I think that would be interesting to see a new quarterback in there. But the only thing is that if you get rid of Geno, who are you bringing in? Like, are you bringing in Derek Carr? Are you trying to go out and try to get Sam Darnold? Can you even afford those guys? It's a big question mark. And honestly, I think that Geno should get another year. I think that he had enough good stuff on tape this year where you think that maybe if you put him in one of these McVay or Shanahan-style offenses, this guy can rip some crazy, crazy throws over the middle of the field, all right? I think he'd be a really good fit in one of these West Coast-style offenses, and, I think that you can find other ways to make up for the cap space that you need to get for the 2025 season. You give Geno one more shot with a new offensive coordinator. If it doesn't work out, there's always 2026 to figure everything out at this position. So give me your best take down there in the comment section. What will be the most shocking quarterback move that is made this offseason? Does it revolve around Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr? What do you think, man? What is the biggest move at the quarterback position that's going to be made in the National Football League? Make sure you guys click that subscribe button here on Chat Sports Main if you haven't already for NFL content like this every single day. And again, we are booting up our NFL draft content on our NFL draft channel here at Chat Sports. I'm going to be hemming up a lot of the new content on this new channel, guys. So make sure you click that subscribe button to that channel as well. Weekly mock drafts, positional rankings, scouting reports on all the top players. It's going to be a really fun draft season, guys. So if you want to join us, make sure you click that subscribe button below this video and join us on NFL Draft by Chat Sports.